Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to the Friday Night Smackdown review. And Smackdown, of course, was from the Performance Center in Orlando. And Smackdown tonight, after WWE giving us 2 weeks of decent Smackdowns, tonight's show was absolute garbage, absolute shit, terrible show. Sorry about that, but I was saying, the show was absolute shit tonight. It was terrible. After 2 weeks of WWE giving us decent SmackDown shows, we reverted right back to how SmackDown, is always, with it being the worst pro wrestling show on TV. And Monday Night Raw is slowly slipping right back into that territory. With that being, with Monday Night Raw also being the worst pro wrestling show on TV. It is slowly slipping right back into that vicinity, like I said. But anyways, let's jump right into the review. So SmackDown opened up tonight with Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy ended up making his way out, and you remember, how SmackDown opened last week where Jeff Hardy ended up getting arrested. The cops thought he ran over Elias, which was reported that Elias is going to be out of action for months. So, that's basically what happened last week. If you saw the open of SmackDown last week, Jeff Hardy's car, like the front hood was popped up. And, we saw that, at the open of SmackDown last week. So Jeff Hardy ended up getting in the ring. He ended up getting on the mic, and he ended up saying that it was good to see everybody. He ended up thanking WWE and Fox for allowing him to take the time and get whatever he had to say off his chest. He ended up saying that everyone witnessed something awful last week, and that the show was thrown into chaos. And, very good man, he ended up saying, Elias walked away with injuries that could be worse. So Jeff Hardy ended up saying that it's not a pretty picture. So let him paint you a different portrait from his point of view. Jeff Hardy ended up explaining that he pulled up to the PC, to the Performance Center, the Performance Center's parking lot. And he ended up saying that he was excited for the show. He ended up getting out of the car, and he was then hit with something big. He ended up saying that it was dark, and when it came to, the police were everywhere. He said he reeked of alcohol, and he was out of it, and in trouble with the law. So Jeff Hardy ended up getting a bit emotional. The crowd, the NXT superstars, and other future talents were in the crowd cheering for Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy ended up saying that it's all good because he's here for a reason. He ended up saying that it's good to know he's on this path alone. He ended up saying that he knew deep in his heart that he didn't slip last week. Jeff Hardy ended up explaining that he recalled being in the police department. He ended up saying that he passed all the tests that they threw at him. And he then ended up saying that a witness came in to say that the culprit had red hair and a red beard. So there you go. Right then and there, it was Sheamus. Of course, it was Sheamus who framed Jeff Hardy, made Jeff Hardy get arrested. So Jeff Hardy ended up saying that he was free to go and that he was furious. He ended up saying that he couldn't wait to get back to SmackDown. And he ended up addressing Sheamus. And ended up saying that he will be damned if he lets Sheamus get away with what he did. So Sheamus's music ended up hitting. Sheamus came out. Sheamus ended up saying that Jeff Hardy has been blaming others for his problems all his life. He ended up accusing Jeff Hardy's fans of lying to the police. He ended up saying that they are enablers. And Sheamus ended up telling Jeff Hardy to be a man for once in his life and admit he was wrong. Sheamus ended up saying that Jeff Hardy won't do that because he's not a man. So he ends up calling Jeff Hardy a junkie. Ended up saying that Jeff Hardy is just a junkie and that he's not a man. So Sheamus ended up saying that Jeff Hardy shouldn't worry about disappointing his family again because they're used to it. So Jeff Hardy heard enough from Sheamus. He got out of the ring, head up the ramp. Sheamus came right in with the bro kick, and Jeff Hardy ended up ducking. And Jeff Hardy ended up pounding away on Sheamus. Sheamus ended up getting the upper hand on the stage and beat it down Jeff Hardy. Sheamus then ended up hitting the bro kick to Jeff Hardy. And he was throwing Jeff Hardy into the plexiglass over and over again. You know, just the plexiglass ended up, coming apart and breaking. So basically, that was that. So, but really good opening to SmackDown. Really enjoyed Jeff Hardy's promo here. It sets up more with his feud with Sheamus, which it was announced later on in the night that it's going to be Jeff Hardy versus Sheamus at Backlash. So we're going to be getting that. All in all, like I said, good segment from Jeff Hardy. And it gave us closure, a little bit closer to the angle that we saw last week. Thinking that, Jeff Hardy did all this, but, it was really Sheamus who framed Jeff Hardy. Moving on. Then we saw Otis was walking backstage with Mandy Rose, and they ended up coming up on Corbin's cape and crown. That was just, there. And Otis ends up asking Mandy if he should try it on. And Mandy ends up telling him, go for it. So Otis ends up putting on the crown, starts having fun, goofing off. Him and Mandy walk off, and we see Corbin. Corbin was furious about, how his crown went missing. So a crew member ends up coming up to Corbin saying that Otis ended up walking away with it. And then Corbin was more furious. And pretty much that was basically that. And then we had Otis versus Corbin. This was a terrible, terrible match. This was absolute shit. And no, I did not take any notes during this match. Otis ended up getting the win by disqualification because Corbin ended up grabbing a chair and hit Otis with it. Hit Otis in the gut with the chair. Post-match, Corbin ended up delivering more chair shots to Otis. They go back into the ring. Otis comes in and drops Corbin. And then it's set up for Otis to hit the Caterpillar. End up dropping the elbow on Corbin. And that was basically that. But absolute terrible match. Absolute shit. And then we had the Miz and John Morrison. And the whole show was centered around Miz and Morrison playing jokes on Braun Strowman. That's what the show mainly revolved around. And everything that we saw at Miz and Morrison tonight was absolutely fucking terrible. They tried so hard to make all of this funny, and they just failed miserably. So the Miz and Morrison, they were outside of the Performance Center. They were in a white van, and of course they were going to mess with Braun Strowman all through the night. So they end up watching Braun Strowman drive into the parking lot because they had some sort of surveillance on the van. They had, computers with surveillance that they were watching from inside. So they end up watching Strowman drive into the parking lot of the Performance Center. They end up also watching Strowman park his car. Strowman ended up getting out. He ends up wheeling his luggage into the Performance Center. And Miz and Morrison were just laughing at what they have in mind to do to Strowman. So then they talk about how everyone has criticized them since they challenged Braun Strowman to a handicap match, which is fucking pointless. It's going to be a 2-on-1 handicap match. The Universal title is going to be on the line at Backlash. So what do you think the outcome is going to be? Braun Strowman is going to retain. That's my prediction. So they end up saying that Strowman came to work without a care in the world. And they end up saying that tonight, that's about to change. They ended up warning that some people won't like what we're about to see. And they end up saying some will think it's lowbrow and juvenile. They end up saying it's actually strategic. They end up saying by the time they get to Backlash, Strowman's life will be a living hell. So the camera ends up showing Strowman inside the Performance Center. He was backstage. He was filling up his cup with water. And he ends up pouring the water inside this cup, and liquid. The water was flying everywhere. So Strowman ends up getting pissed. Miz and Morrison were laughing in the van. And that was basically that. That's not the last that we saw of Miz and Morrison playing jokes and messing with Strowman during the night. Absolutely unfunny. So then we had Kayla Braxton. Kayla Braxton was backstage with Chad Gable. She was congratulating Chad Gable on his win last week, which he ended up defeating Cesaro. So then Mojo Rawley appears. And Mojo Rawley tonight ended up reverting back to a heel because, Rob Gronkowski is released from WWE. And, because of this, they had to have Mojo Rawley come back on, be a heel, because, of course, Gronk is not with the company no more. Imagine, when Gronkowski, like 2 months ago, he ended up coming into the WWE like he signed the contract with WWE to make an appearance at WrestleMania to be the host. And you saw Mojo Rawley all happy doing dances. I'm like, he was a babyface then, only because of Gronkowski being there, because him and Gronk are best buddies. And then now that Gronk is released, now he reverts back to being a heel. I'm like, Mojo Rawley, he's a catering guy. So he ended up appearing, and he ended up taunting Chad Gable. Of course, with the short jokes. And Mojo ended up saying that we have bigger things to talk about this week. About his boy, or his buddy, Rob Gronkowski, getting robbed of the Jobber Ninja Turtle 24/7 championship. That god-awful piece of shit title. So Mojo ended up picking on Chad Gable's height. Of course, still with the height jokes for Chad Gable. And Chad Gable ends up turning to leave. And we see Cesaro and Nakamura end up attacking him. So Mojo ends up coming in also, pounding down on Chad Gable. The New Day end up making the save. So he had Kofi and Big E end up making the save. And pretty much that was basically that. And you all know that's going to lead later on to a 6-man tag. Then we had Sonya Deville versus Lacey Evans. Another rematch from last week. So we saw both of them go at it last week. And the match ended in a count out. So we had to get the rematch this week. So Lacey Evans made her way out. And as she made her way out, she was attacked by Sonya Deville. And Sonya Deville ended up dropping Lacey Evans down on the floor at ringside. She ended up entering the ring. And pretty much SmackDown went to commercial. Then, when SmackDown came back from the commercial, both Sonya and Lacey Evans lock up. Lacey Evans ended up taking Sonya Deville down. She was talking some trash to Lacey. She was talking some trash to Sonya Deville. And there was a point at the end of the match where Mandy Rose appeared on the screen. Mandy Rose ended up talking trash to Sonya. She ended up calling Sonya a failure and that she is not a fighter. So Sonya ended up screaming back at Mandy. She wanted Mandy to come to the ring. Ended up calling her a Barbie doll. So Lacey Evans then took advantage. She ended up knocking out Sonya with the woman's right. And she went for the pin. And there you go. Lacey Evans ended up winning the match. But overall, it was a decent match from Sonya and Lacey Evans. And then we went back and we saw the Miz and Morrison. Oh, and I forgot to mention, we had a Matt Riddle video package. Matt Riddle ended up saying that he is at the top of the food chain and that we will never forget his name. So it was a little Matt Riddle video promo, hyping up his SmackDown main roster debut, which when he debuts, my opinion hasn't changed. I give Matt Riddle 3 weeks on the main roster until WWE makes him another guy that gets sent to catering. My opinion hasn't changed on that. And watch, when he makes his debut, probably about maybe like a week, 2 weeks, they're going to make him wear shoes. They're going to make him wear boots when he has a match. They're not going to make him wrestle barefoot. You all remember Rusev. When Rusev was in NXT, he used to wrestle barefoot. When he came up to the main roster, he wrestled barefoot until he got injured, and Vince was like, "Oh, Rusev, we want you to wear boots from now on in your matches." So that's what they did. They made Rusev wear boots for his other matches in his WWE career. That's the same thing that they're going to do with Matt Riddle. I predict that happening. So then we had the Miz and Morrison. We saw them back in their van, and we saw they had another prank to play on Strowman. And Strowman was with Kayla Braxton. He was being interviewed by her. And then we see slime, green slime, falls from the ceiling, covering Kayla Braxton. And it was supposed to cover Braun Strowman. Strowman ended up apologizing to Kayla Braxton, and he ended up telling her that he knows this was meant for him. And the Miz was yelling at Morrison for putting the bucket of slime, in the wrong way. And Kayla Braxton was furious, and she ended up saying, "Those bastards." And Strowman was also upset. He ended up walking off. And that was that. But this was so unfunny. I'm like, are we watching Nickelodeon here? We're seeing the green slime fall. I'm like, just put this segment, include it on a Nickelodeon short break. That's what this all was. This whole part. So then we had Renee Young. Renee Young was in the ring, and she ended up introducing Daniel Bryan and AJ Styles. This is because of the Intercontinental Championship match that's going to take place next week on Smackdown to crown a new Intercontinental Champion. So it's going to be Daniel Bryan and AJ Styles going head-to-head next week. Winner gets to be the new Intercontinental Champion. My prediction, I'm going with AJ Styles. Daniel Bryan, really good competitor, one of my favorites. But, for me to pick, WWE is going to put the Intercontinental title on AJ Styles. I sense them doing that. And hey, if Styles wins it, that is awesome. That is good. So then we saw the Intercontinental title. It was on a podium in the middle of the ring. So Styles ended up saying that if Jeff Hardy didn't interfere last week, Sheamus would have won. And ended up saying, and be where Daniel Bryan was standing. Styles ended up saying that Daniel Bryan will call him a coward for taking the bye in the tournament to get to the finals next week. So Renee ended up asking Daniel Bryan if Styles is a coward. Daniel Bryan ended up saying that, well, yeah, AJ is a coward, but they both have different ways of thinking. Styles ended up saying that he did the smart thing when Renee asked if he took the bye because he's never been Intercontinental Champion. He ended up saying that he sees himself as a champion. The greatest champion WWE has ever had. And he ended up saying that Daniel Bryan is all heart. And Daniel Bryan ended up saying that Styles is trying to get under his skin and that it's not working for him. He ended up saying that they've known each other for a long time. Long enough to know, that they both have different world views and views of what it means to be Intercontinental Champion. Daniel Bryan ended up saying that Styles would probably only defend against a select few that he felt worthy. And Daniel Bryan ended up going on. He ended up calling Styles a coward. Daniel Bryan ended up saying that he would defend the title every single week, whether it's against a veteran or a up-and-comer. Styles ended up saying that it sounds like Daniel Bryan just wants him to give a handout, which he doesn't believe in. Styles ended up saying that he believes in earning an opportunity. He ended up saying, speaking of opportunities, how did Gulak get the chance to be Daniel Bryan's coach? And he ended up saying, that sounds like a handout. And we had Styles end up saying that he believes it's a handout. And Daniel Bryan ended up saying that he believes it's an opportunity. So Styles ended up wanted to give Drew Gulak an opportunity tonight. Styles ended up saying that he knows Gulak is in the back. And he ended up calling Gulak to the ring to get his handout. So out came Drew Gulak. Gulak ended up coming to the ring, ended up attacking Styles. He ended up taking him down. Styles ended up retreating out of the ring. He went right to the floor. And then Smackdown went to commercial. Overall, this was a decent segment with Daniel Bryan and Styles. My prediction, like I said, I sense WWE putting the Intercontinental title on Styles. And then we had Styles versus Drew Gulak, which this was, an entertaining match. It's a little short match. We had Styles starting off the match. He took control of Drew Gulak, and Daniel Bryan was watching from ringside. He was encouraging Drew Gulak, and Gulak ended up putting Styles in a shoulder submission. Styles ended up getting free. Gulak was keeping control of the match. We had Styles come right back, and he ended up delivering forearms to Gulak, ended up kicking Gulak into the corner. And he had Styles drop Gulak with a backbreaker, went for the pin. Gulak ended up kicking out at 2. It was just back and forth with Styles and Gulak from there. And Styles ended up trying to deliver a boot in the corner to Gulak. Gulak ended up reversing it and turned it into a clothesline. And at the end of the match, Drew Gulak ended up getting the win because Styles was going for the Styles Clash. And Gulak ended up countering that. And he ended up stacking Styles into a bridge pin out of nowhere. So Drew Gulak ended up winning the match. And he had Styles' shocked look on his face. And that was that. But overall, it was a decent match between Gulak and Styles. It was entertaining. Of course, it's Styles in the match. And then we had more with Miz and Morrison. Miz and Morrison were by Braun Strowman's car. And they walk over to Strowman's car with a golf club and a baseball bat. The Miz was carrying the golf club. Morrison was carrying the baseball bat, and Miz ended up saying that it's a good thing he's been working on his golf game. Miz then ended up yelling, 4, and he ended up smashing the golf club over Strowman's windshield of his car. And then Morrison ends up pulling out the baseball bat. And he ended up doing more damage to Strowman's windshield. And they end up celebrating, and they go back to the van so you can watch, Strowman's reaction to his car windshield when he comes out. So that was that. So then we had the 6-man tag. New Day and Chad Gable versus Cesaro, Nakamura, and Mojo Rawley. And the match itself, it was meh, in my opinion. We had Cesaro and Chad Gable start off the match. Chad Gable ended up charging into Cesaro. Cesaro ended up catching him. And he lifts Chad Gable, but Chad Gable ended up sliding out, ended up rolling up Cesaro, and Cesaro ended up kicking out too. And you had, at the end of the match, you had the New Day and Chad Gable win the match, where you had Chad Gable, getting the pin on Mojo, and that was at New Day and Chad Gable ended up winning the match. Overall, very meh match. And then we went back to the Miz and Morrison in their van once again. And this was the last van segment of the night with Miz and Morrison. These terrible, unfunny pranks that they're messing with Braun Strowman. So Braun Strowman ended up coming out. And Strowman was pissed seeing his windshield of his car destroyed by Miz and Morrison. And he was screaming, and he was saying, "Oh, where's Miz and Morrison? Where are they?" Because he ended up asking one of the security guards that was out there, and the security guard ends up telling Strowman that they're in the van. They're in the van. So Strowman ended up marching over to the van. And Miz and Morrison end up locking the doors of the van, so Strowman can't get in. So Strowman ended up yelling for both Miz and Morrison to get out of the van. So he was beating down the van Strowman. Strowman then looks at the camera, and he ended up saying that, "You guys are dead. You are dead men." So Miz and Morrison, they were laughing. They were thinking in their heads that they were protected by the van from Strowman. And then we see Strowman just starts rocking the van. And Miz and Morrison were screaming inside the van. And then we see Strowman ends up tipping the van up on its side. It's not the first time we've seen Strowman, tip, a vehicle. He also did the same thing to the ambulance. Sorry about that, but I was saying, we saw Strowman, tip over an ambulance before. So, but he ended up tipping the van up on its side. And the camera was showing, that Miz and Morrison fell, over the van inside. Strowman ends up saying that they're not funny. And that was funny when he tipped over the van. And so basically, that was that. These were terrible. These were awful during the night. They were so unfunny. They were trying so hard for the people watching to laugh at it. I'm like, this was all unfunny. What was there to laugh at in any of these segments? From the liquid shooting out of the cup, to the slime falling down on Caleb Braxton, to Miz and Morrison destroying the windshield of Strowman's car with a golf club and a baseball bat. And also now Strowman tipping over the van. I bet you all didn't laugh at anything that was going on in those segments. Terrible. Absolutely fucking awful. So then we had the main event. Sasha Banks and Bayley versus Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross. The women's tag team titles were on the line. And the match itself, it was an okay women's match. It was an okay match from these women. And we had Nikki Cross and Bayley end up starting off the match. Nikki Cross ended up attacking Bayley. Nikki Cross ended up tagging in Alexa Bliss. Bliss ended up slamming Bayley to the mat. Ended up dropping knees to the gut of Bayley. Nikki Cross ended up coming back in, delivered a basement drop kick to Bayley. Went for a cover. Bayley ended up kicking out at 2. Nikki Cross ended up sending Bayley into the corner. And Bliss ended up tagging in. She was mocking Sasha. And at the end of the match, you had Bayley end up stopping Bliss from coming in because Sasha ended up locking in the bank statement on Nikki Cross. So Bayley ended up stopping Bliss from coming back into the ring. Nikki Cross and Sasha end up tangling on the mat. And Sasha ended up rolling up Nikki Cross with a crucifix. And there you go. Sasha and Bayley win the match and are the new women's tag team champions. They are now 2-time women's tag team champions. Post-match, Sasha and Bayley were celebrating. Bayley ended up running around with both titles. And, Bliss ended up asking Nikki Cross, what happened. So Sasha and Bayley were continuing celebrating with the titles. And Sasha ended up holding her title in the air. Bayley was screaming about, her titles being too heavy. She was like, "Oh, these are so heavy." And then Smackdown went off the air. But given the women's tag team titles back to Sasha and Bayley, I think that was a good move. That was the right move. But really happy, to see the women's tag team titles back on Sasha and Bayley. And that was SmackDown tonight. Show was god awful. Absolutely terrible. But anyways, that's it for the SmackDown review. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed the review. And definitely give the video a thumbs up. Comment, subscribe. And until next video, I'll see you all later.